Hello viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel Curiosity Rocks, and in this video I'm going to tell you all about Avengers Endgame. So I saw it tonight, my dad took me and we went to the 3D showing, and I have to say that if you can, go to the 3D showing because it is really cool and it really adds, I think it adds a lot if you see it in 3D, especially the first scenes with Tony. It looks brilliant in 3D. So I am going to tell you spoilers, sorry. But so here's a picture of what I wore, which you've probably seen on the thumbnail. So here's the outfit I wore. I wore my Carol Danvers jacket, and I wore a Paradox, the TARDIS, in a vortex inside the TARDIS, and sparkly purple shoes, and my TARDIS socks. So it's a really cool movie. I was very satisfied with how it was done and how it handled my favourite characters. So at the start we see Clint Barton with his family and they're having a picnic, and he's teaching his daughter to fire the arrows into the target, and she's really good. And then he just has a look over at his boys and the mum setting up the picnic, and then turns round and his daughters vanish and you can just see the dust floating to the ground, and I was like, oh. And then he finds out that his family have been dusted, and then we go to the Marvel credit thing. Hello Jack, you can be on the video. And then we go to the Marvel credits thing, and it's really cool in 3D and it has like references to the other movies, and it's really cool, and it goes into the 3D. So after the credits, we see Tony and Nebula in the spaceship, and they're playing this game. And it's really cute. They're playing this game where they make a goal, and they've got these like foil triangles, and they have to flip the triangle over the goal, and it's really cute. And then Tony says to Nebula, "You've won," and she's like, "Thank you," and she's just like, and then he records his message on his helmet to Pepper, and he calls Nebula the Blue Meanie, but she's not that bad really. And then he gets really weak because he hasn't got much. Oh, there's a bit before that where he offers Nebula some bit of food, and she just pushes it back to him. Like, it's just really sweet. I thought their dynamic in the spaceship was really cool. They should have had more time together. That would have been cute. And then after he's recorded his message on his Iron Man helmet, he feels really weak and decides to have a sleep. So he falls asleep on the floor, and Nebula gets him up and she puts him in the seat, in the driver's seat. And then he sat in the driver's seat with his eyes shut, and then there's this bright light out coming in, and we see through the windscreen the bright light, and then it's Carol, Captain Marvel, and she brings the spaceship back down to Earth. So, and then we see Steve Rogers is shaving, and then the Avengers Tower starts shaking, and it's like an earthquake. So they go outside and to see Captain Marvel bring down the spaceship, and Tony's back down to Earth, and all the gang's there. And then when Nebula gets off the spaceship, Rocket goes over to and sits with her and holds her hand. Oh, well, that was so sweet. And then all the gang are together, and then they do this big thing where they go and find Thanos, and Nebula is talking to him, and Thanos is on his farm picking fruit, and he's got a t-shirt on, and we find out that after he did the snap and he's on his farm, he snapped to sort of remove the stones, to disperse the stones, and he destroyed them into atoms. So Thor gets to go for the head this time. So they've defeated Thanos, but they can't bring anybody back because he's destroyed the stones. So then it's like cuts to 5 years later. So 5 years later, we see Scott Lang's van, and it's been put in a storage unit, self-storage unit, and there's a rat crawling over the controls, and the rat stands on a button, and it fires Scott out of the back of the van into these bean bags and stuff, or in the stuff in the storage unit, into the vents. And now there's a cameo. I've forgotten his name. The teacher guy from there's 2 people from Community in it, so I thought that's quite funny. But the teacher guy, what's his name? But he's got a cameo in it, and he's the security guard at the storage unit. And Scott makes a sign that says "Help me," and the security guy sees him and he frees him out of the storage unit. And then he's walking down the street, and he doesn't know what's happened. And then he finds this big park where they've got the monuments of all the people who went missing, and he looks at all the monuments and his name's on it, and he's looking for Cassie's name, but Cassie's name is on there. So he goes to his house, and she's there, but she's obviously grown up a bit. She's and then he meets her and they hug and everything, and it's really sweet. And then eventually he finds his way to the Avengers compound, and he's outside. During this time, Nat's been doing all the admin basically on the Avengers compound, and she's been talking to the holograms of the people doing the work. So she sees from Wakanda, and said, "What can, there's a earthquake and a volcano." Said, "Well, what can we do about that?" And I think, and sorry, I've forgotten the name, but is it a Koya? She says, "Nothing, it's a volcano, we don't do anything." So I thought that was kind of funny. But she's talking to the holograms, and Rocket's off doing some tasks. So it's just Nat and Steve in the compound. And then they see on the video that at the front gate is Scott with the van, and he's turned up with a van, and Scott in this is really funny. I think he's really cool. And he starts talking about the quantum realm, and talking about they can use time travel. So then we visit Tony, and he's got this daughter, and it's really cute. And she's like in a tent, and he's gone outside to, because it's tea time, to get her in for tea time, and he sits down in this little chair, and it's so cute, and she's wearing a helmet that I think he got it for it was an anniversary present between him and Pepper, and his daughter's not really meant to be wearing the helmet, but she is. And then I think maybe his daughter's going to grow up to be a female Iron Man, to take over the Iron Man thing possibly. But anyway, they go into Nat, Steve and Scott turn up at his house to talk about going back into the past and stuff, and he really doesn't want to do it because he likes his life as it is, and then he's with Pepper, and she said, you want to do it, don't you? And then so he starts thinking about it, and does this gadgety thing on his computer thing, and he does this Moebius loop and finds out it is possible to do time travel. And he looks at the picture of him and Peter Parker. So designs.
Should I play the station NPR Park?
I'm not talking to you, Alexa.
Should I play the station NPR Park?
No! So anyway, before I was interrupted, so Natasha Romanoff, she goes off to find Clint, and actually before that bit, I'm just reading off Wikipedia just to keep my memory in proper order. They say they need a bigger brain, and they go to this cafe and they find that Bruce Banner has become Professor Hulk, and he's Hulk, but he's Mark Ruffalo as Hulk, and he looks way more like Mark Ruffalo, and he looks really hot, and he's got these really cool glasses. Now I need to get some new glasses, so I really like the frames that Professor Hulk has got. He looks awesome. His glasses are so cool, and it's really funny in this cafe because he's like, oh yeah, and then these kids come up to him and he said, can we have a photo with you? And he's like, oh, really famous because he's called Professor Hulk now, and he's like, see green, and he's so cute, and he's all like rocking. And then Ant-Man says, do you want a picture with me? I'm Ant-Man. But they have no clue who he is. They don't know who Ant-Man is, but Hulk's like really famous now, and it's really cute. And he wears these sort of fleece tops now. It looks amazing. I think he's gorgeous. So, and his glasses are amazing. So they did that. Oh yeah. And then so Nat goes off to find Clint, and Clint's this. And it's like a kung fu movie, and he's got big swords. Yes, I know. And he's fighting these other people with big swords, and there's like subtitles. And then, so she finds Clint, and he comes back to the Avengers tower with her. So then they're at the tower, and they're thinking about what they can do with this time travel. There's a lot of humour in this film. It's really fun. So they split into groups. Bruce, Steve, Scott and Tony, they go to New York City, and it's really cool because we get to see extra bits after the Avengers Assemble film. So we see them all going in the lift, and they've got all Loki in the trap, and they're just taking him down to the bottom floor so they can like take Loki back. And then the Hulk tries getting the lift, said, no, you're not getting in the lift. It's a full lift, mate. And the Hulk gets really angry and he punches the lift doors and says, and tell him to take the stairs, and he's really mad about taking the stairs. Oh, got to the stairs, and it's about 30 stories up. It's like, so he's really angry taking the stairs and gets so pissed off. And then we see Steve Rogers. His task is to because the Hydra guys, they've got the big staff, and his task is sort of to get it off them. And so he whispers, "Hail Hydra," like he's one of them. And then he managed to get the staff off them, but then he stumbles upon himself, and oh yeah, before that, Scott Lang said that Captain America has Tony and Scott are admiring Captain America's arse. So, and then Captain America fights himself on this bridge thing, and the original Captain America says, "I could do this all day," and the current Captain America says, "Yeah, I know," and then he stops the fight by saying, "Bucky's alive," to himself, and then but they wrestle and they go down a couple of floors through the glass, and then the first Captain America saw knocked out lying on his front, and Steve just looks at his bum and says, "Yeah, that is the ass of America," and he's marrying his own arse. So that was funny. So back downstairs, Tony is dressed as security, and he sees himself, and he sends Ant-Man. He sends Ant-Man to shrink down and go under Tony's jumper and unplug his heart thing. So Ant-Man does that, and then so everybody's crouching round the Tony. But then, so they nearly get the suitcase with the Tesseract in, but then Hulk comes storming down the stairs and really pissed off because he's like come down all them stairs, and he accidentally like kicks the suitcase with the Tesseract in over to Loki's foot, and Loki's like, and he's just and Loki's really funny. It's like, and disappears in a big cloud, and it's like, they've screwed it up. So the outside, Scott, Steve and Tony outside in this car, and Scott's like, "Oh, we screwed it up." Meanwhile, Bruce as Professor Hulk goes up to the Sanctum Sanctorum, and the Ancient One is there, and he wants to get the time stone out the eye thing. So, but what she does is she pushes him, and the Bruce comes out of the Hulk, but as a sort of essence, and she talks about the timeline and where the stones are in the timeline, that if you move one, you create a new timeline. But Bruce says, "Yeah, but if we can put it back, then we haven't changed the timeline." And then he tells it that Doctor Strange gives the stone to Thanos, and the Ancient One's like, "Whoa, you didn't tell me that," and says, "Oh, you better have it then," because like, and So, and they say, well, he must have done it for a reason. So she realised that we're all depending on you, Bruce, and she puts Bruce back into his body, so he's Professor Hulk again. So he's got them stones. So he promises to get them back. And then Steve Rogers and Tony Stark, meanwhile, they use their pin particles to go back to the 1970s, and it's so Steve Rogers sees Peggy through a window, and he's like, and meanwhile Tony Stark is getting the stones they need, and he bumps into his dad. So Steve Rogers steals the pin particles, but Tony bumps into his dad, and his dad's talking about, oh, his wife's pregnant, she's going to have a baby that day, and he's got a bunch of flowers and this other thing for her, and he talks about, and I think we've seen this kind of thing in Doctor Who, and he talks to his dad about what's he going to call the baby, and then another thing we've seen in Doctor Who, he says, my dad used to say this line, so he tells his own dad the quote he used to say to him. And so I thought that was really well done. That was really nice moment where he gets to meet his own dad and give him a hug and everything. So I thought that was really sweet. So after that, the Banner and Bruce Hulk, well, we'll call him Hulk, and Rocket, they go to Thor's village, and it looks really, really cool. I really love it. There is a bit with Banner. I think this was the bit where it references the Incredible Hulk TV show, because Bruce, as the Hulk, he's got a little bag, and he's just walking off, and there's like sort of a jaunty tune to it, and he's like walking off with this bag, and then he's sat in the back of a truck, a flatbed truck, and it's so cute. He's like got sat in the back of a flatbed truck like this. It's so adorable. And he goes with Rocket, so they end up going to New Asgard, which is Norway, and it's a little fishing village, and it's really well done. I really want it in Lego. I really want them to make the fishing village in Lego. Like, instead of the big battle scenes, they always do the battle scenes for the Lego, whereas the fishing village, and I just like all the domestic sets. They're my favourites, and it's just a really cute village, and Valkyrie's there, and she's just got a puffer jacket on and a vest and a fleece, and dressed very Earth-like, and they're not really dressed as Asgardians, they're just dressed as people of Norway. So Valkyrie says Thor he's been getting through the beers and everything, so they go and they find this rocket. They go into this hut, and it's a hut that Thor shares with Korg and Meek, and they've been playing Fortnite, and it's really cute. And now people have said they're disappointed in this scene because Thor has put on weight, but it's not over the top. It's realistic. It's a realistic proportion of weight that he'd put on if he stopped exercising. And he's been hanging out with Cora. They've been playing Fortnite, and and when Hulk comes in, he's like, we really have to see Hulk, and he gives him a big it gives him a cuddle. So I got my Hulk Thor hug, which I really wanted for this film, and then he gives Rocket a cuddle, and he's like really cute. And then there's a guy, they're playing Fortnite online, and there's a guy called Noob Master 69 who keeps giving Korg shit. I keep slagging off Korg. So Korg asks Thor to keep saying, he's giving me shit again. So Thor gets the headset and slags off Noob Master and threatens him, saying, I'm the god of thunder, alright. And he's the god of thunder, and he threatens him. It's like, oh, imagine that. Imagine playing video games and it's against Thor, god of thunder. That would be really cool. And Meek's there too, and they're playing video games. So Thor has put weight on, and his hair's grown out, and his beard's grown out. But it just looks like Thor as in the mythology. So it's not like over the top or anything, and it's not. Well, I don't know if people laugh in your screening will laugh in your screening or not, but I thought it was kind of nicely done, because it was really sweet, because it's like Hulk was like, yeah, but I was in a mess too. You got me through. You did. And then it's like, I'll get you. I'll help you for. And it's like, oh, it's like how Thor helped Hulk, and then and Hulk's come to help Thor, and it was so cute. And he was like putting his hand on, he was just giving him reassurance and everything. And then when Rocket says they need to go do this stuff to get Thanos, Thor gets upset about it, and I thought it was quite nicely handled actually, because from what I've read on Twitter and stuff, it makes it seem like Rocket's just like, oh, pull yourself together, but he's not actually. So eventually they persuade Rocket persuades Thor to go with him to Asgard in 2013, and they need to get the reality stone from Jane Foster, well, the ether from Jane. So Rocket, we see a tiny cameo from Natalie Portman as Jane, but we see Rocket go off with this big gadget to, well, that his goal is to go with the gadget to suck out the ether from Jane. But before that, we see Thor, and he's upset and panicking because they've seen his mum walk past, and Rocket is all like, it's like, yeah, you lost people, but there's some people that are kind of lost, and we can bring them back. We can do it. And he's like, instead of just saying snap out of it, it's like, you can do it, Thor, you can do it. It's really encouraging of Thor, and then it's really relatable, Thor's story, and Thor's like, yeah, I can do it. And then when Rocket's gone off with the gadget to get the ether, Thor's all like, oh no, I can't do it. And then his mum sees him, and she's like, I know you're from the future. And he's like, are you? And he starts crying, and she said, are you crying? And says, I'm totally from the future. And it's really sweet, because he gets to have a chat with his mum, and she tells him that he's had all this time in his life, he'd been pressured to be this big king of Asgard, and that it's like a pressure he's had to step up as king of Asgard, and maybe that's not who he is. Maybe he should stop feeling pressure to live up to some ideal and be comfortable being himself, and it's really sweet with his mum. So he gets to see his mum and have comfort from his mum. And then when it's time to get going again, he puts his hands out for Mjolnir. And then Rock says, "What are we waiting for?" And his mum says, "Oh, it just takes a couple of minutes." And then he gets Mjolnir back and Thor's, "Yay!" So they go back, on the way back to the Avengers base. Elsewhere. So Clint Barton and Tasha Romanoff travel to Bormir and they find the Red Skull, and he's a bit all floaty, bit grim, and he talks about how this can only be got by sacrificing the one you love. So Natasha and Clint, they have a sort of a little scrap, like, "You're not doing it," and then Clint goes to jump off the cliff, but Natasha sort of does something with his arrows and attaches him to the cliff, and then she's holding on to his hand and she's dangling, and she says, it's okay, Clint, let me go." And she falls down, and then the next thing he knows, he's waking up in this pond, and he's got the stone, and he cries, and then he goes back to the base too. Nebula and Rudy, they go to steal the Power Stone off Peter Quill. And it's good because you see a bit after, you see these the extra little bits after the original film, so you see a little bit extra of him dancing and singing, and they're going to get the Power Stone, and then they go into this building, and it opens up like Indiana Jones, and Rudy's talking about, "Yeah, but there's going to be booby traps, you slack," and he's thinking it's like Indiana Jones, so they go to get it, but then Nebula sinks with her other past self, and Thanos in the past, because of Nebula's computer in her head, he learns what future Nebula's doing, so he sets past Nebula to go and get present Nebula and like mess it all up, and so he knows to come back and attack the base. So then we're all back at the base, and then they got the Infinity Stones, and Tony makes a new gauntlet with the Infinity Stones in, and Thor wants to use the gauntlet and says, I'll do it, I'm the strongest Avenger." And then Bruce says, no, I'll do it because the gamma radiation will be fine. And he puts it on, and Thor's panicking that Banner's getting hurt. But then he manages to do it, and he clicks his fingers, and then we see like Scott Lang goes to the window, and there's the birds in the trees, and then somebody's phone rings, and it's Clint Barton's wife ringing him, and he picks up the phone. Then next thing we know, the base explodes because Thanos has appeared. So because of Nebula, he's found out what's happening, and he blows up the base. But Banner, Hulk is holding up bits of the base, so he managed to hold up the base so these can get out, and Hawkeye defeats these big spider creatures from Thanos' ship that have come into the base. And then Ant-Man is helping him to get out of the building, and he becomes Giant Man so he can rescue them. And then they start on to battering Thanos. And then Nebula convinces Gamora that Thanos is the enemy, that we need to defeat him, and that Gamora and Nebula become friends. So then Thor and Steve, they sharing Mjolnir, and they battering Thanos, and then Steve stops and hears Falcon's voice and says, on your left, mate. And then we see the swirly thing, and Black Panther and Shuri and the other character, they come through the thing restored, and then Falcon comes flying through, and then we see lots of squirrelies, Doctor Strange squirrelies, and they all come through the squirrelies, all come back, all the powdered people come back through the squirrelies, and they start to fight Thanos' army in this big battle. And Captain Marvel, she blows up, comes down, blows up Thanos' ship, and then see this big battle, and then Peter Parker comes back, and Tony Stark sees him, and Peter's like, oh, do you know what that's, and there's all dust, and then Doctor Strange says it's been 5 hours, they need us, well, been 5 years, they need us, and he's telling all this, and Tony Stark just grabs him and gives him a big hug. And then there's a lot of passing around of the gauntlet, and then eventually Peter Parker goes and rides on Valkyrie's Pegasus with the gauntlet, and it's passed around to everybody, and then Captain Marvel fights Thanos, and I love Valkyrie and a Pegasus. I want that as a toy, please, because that would be amazing. So there's big battle scene, and then eventually Tony Stark gets a gauntlet with the Infinity Stones. His stones taken from Thanos' gauntlet, and they're in Tony Stark's gauntlet, and he snaps his fingers and he dusts all of Thanos' army. So all the bad guys are dusted. But then Tony Stark's down, and Peter Parker's like, Mr. Stark, you okay, Mr. Stark? And, oh! and Peter Parker's all starting crying, and then Pepper comes and moves him over to Rhodey, and she's like, we're going to be fine, you can rest now, Tony. And then Tony dies, and then there's before that, when Black Widow died, they went back to the base, and it's like, what happened? And then Thor's like, what happened, Clint? Where is she? And then they're by this lake, and Thor's like, well, we can change it, we can bring her back, we can change it. And Clint's like, no, we can't, it's done. And Hulk throws the bench into the lake. See, that's what they did about the Natasha story. And we see Stark's funeral, and everybody's turned up for Stark's funeral, and before that we see him in his house, and he's got a hologram projection of him giving his message out to his daughter and his family. So then it's Tony Stark's funeral, and then Thor is in his new Asgard, and he's talking to Valkyrie and says, and he gives it, like, says, you're going to be the new leader of Asgard, and it's like going to change some things around here, and he says, I hope you do. And it's really sweet, and he's like, and he says, well, what will you do, Thor? And he said, I think I'm going to be who I am, not who everybody wants me to be. And it's a really sweet story. It's about being yourself and not being pressured to be this thing what isn't you, and just staying true to who you really are. So I really liked his storyline, and I thought it was handled quite well. Yeah, if people laugh at him, then that's crap. But there's nothing to laugh at really. Yeah, he put on weight, but it's understandable, and it's not like a mass. He's not like in a big fat suit. He's just got a beer belly, and his arms are a bit bigger, and his beard's grown out a bit. But other than that, I think it's quite sweet, and it's really sweet how he bonds with Rocket. And although the Asgardians don't seem to understand the difference between a raccoon and a rabbit, because the other Asgardians, when they go to get Essence, the stone from Jane Foster, Rocket's running out with the gadget and all the stuff he's got, and they say, get that rabbit. So the Asgardians don't know what rabbits are compared to raccoons. So I think they need a bit of schooling and that. And then we see Thor on the Guardians of the Galaxy ship, and he's with Quill and Mantis, Drax, Groot and Nebula, and Peter Quill, and Thor is like, so who's the captain? And Peter Quill's, I'm the captain. And then there's this screen, and Thor goes, I'm the captain. And then they fight over this swipe screen, and then Drax says, oh, should fight it out with knives. And Thor says, no need for that. And then Mantis says, yeah, knives. And then Groot says, oh, yo, Groot. And he said, no, it's okay, no. And then Peter Quill says, I'm the captain. And then Thor's like, Thor kind of looks like he's checking him out a bit. So I thought that was quite sweet, really. So, and then we're back with Steve Rogers, Sam, Bucky and Hulk. And Hulk's on the controls of the time machine. He looks like a DJ with his glasses on. He looks really cool. So they're sending Steve back to put back all the Infinity Stones, and they say, right, it's going to be 5 seconds for us, so we'll see you in 5 seconds, Steve. But Steve decides he doesn't want to come back, so he avoids getting sat back to the present. And they were like, what happened, where is he? And then I think Bucky sees this guy sat on a bench, and he's like, Sam. And Sam goes over to this guy, and it's old Steve, and he's had his happy married life. So we've seen this kind of storyline of Doctor Who too. Seen pretty much all of the MCU has previously been done in Doctor Who. But anyway, so Steve talks to him, and Steve talks to Sam, and Sam talks to Steve, says, looks like you've had a good life. And Steve says, been wonderful. And he gives Sam his shield, and Sam's not sure at first. Then Bucky is in the background, and he goes, although I'm not quite sure why Bucky didn't go to see Steve. That would have been nice. So Sam's the new Captain America, because he's got the shield. And then after that we see Steve's wedding ring, and then there's we go back to the past, and there's this romantic wartime music, and we see Steve dancing with Peggy Carter, and then they kiss, and then that's the end of the film. And then we have the credits, and the credits are just pretty standard credits really, apart from we see the original 6, see their signatures appear on the screen, and then it's just standard credits. But at the end of the credits there is a sound of somebody forging something metal, so we don't see anything, but there is a definite sound of metal being hammered and forged. So now another thing that was advertised about the film was the first gay Avenger, or the first gay character in the Avengers, the first Marvel Universe gay character. Now this was a complete letdown, because the gay character was one of the Russo brothers. He was in the therapy group with Steve Rogers, and he was talking, said, so I went on a date, he cried, then I cried, I'm going on another date with him, and then that was it. That was rubbish. And then it was a bit meta, because Steve Rogers said, yeah, that's what we do, baby steps. And it's like, if you mean baby steps about having gay characters, that is crap. So there's no gay character, a gay Avenger. It's not revealed, but obviously I think Banner is Hulk's gay. I think Bruce Banner and Professor Hulk. I'd like to see Rick Jones being Hulk's partner if Thor doesn't go back and visit Hulk sometimes. So Hulk's happy being Professor Hulk because he's really famous, he's really enjoying it, and he's got cool glasses and cool clothes. So, and obviously he's still got Sam and Bucky to hang out with, and Clint Barton, when Clint's not busy with his family, he can go hang out with Clint. Thor's gone off to find himself, and so I was worried a lot about how they were going to deal with Hulk and Thor, but it was really sweet. They were really supportive of each other, and I thought it was really nice how they did it. And there's obviously opportunity to see Thor in more films, and possibly see Hulk in more films or TV series. I'd love a TV series of Hulk and Thor. That'd be cute. Or extras, or we could even have at least 5 seasons of Thor creating his village, his new Asgard. That would be cool. And what I'd really like is 5 seasons worth of a TV series of Bruce Banner psychologically figuring out how he's going to be Professor Hulk, because I would really like to see that, because I love the psychology of characters. I find that incredibly fascinating, so I'd love to see that. So what I want, and there was a really nice scene with Peter and his mate at school, and they see each other in the corridor and they have a really sweet hug. That's a really sweet scene. So what I'd like for the next era of the MCU, more gay characters, more Valkyrie and Pegasi. A Valkyrie origin story would be cool. obviously more Captain Marvel, Rick Jones with Bruce. It's a shame they didn't do Rick Jones with Steve, that's a shame. So I am currently reading the Avengers comics in chronological order. I'm still on the 1963 issues, and I'm finding that there's a lot more depth of feeling in the comics than they did for the first era of the MCU. So I'd like to have more of the love be shown emphatically between the characters, because it's like they hold back. It's like they because of the shareholders and Disney, they hold back on having anybody be anybody other than straight, which is really frustrating and not good enough. Because Doctor Who, we've had that since 2005. We had a gay showrunner and a gay main character, gay first kiss, a gay kiss between that main character and the Doctor, and we had all that in 2005. So why can't the MCU just grow up and give us some proper representation? That would be amazing. So I recommend the movie a lot. I thought it was good, and it was a satisfying way to wrap up the arc. And I feel, although I'm relatively new fan to the MCU since last year, I feel that it was a satisfying ending, and it will be fun to go back and watch the films chronologically and see it all develop. So I think it was quite nicely wrapped up. Now, shippers, Thor and Hulk shippers, I think will be relatively happy, although we still need to see more Thor and Hulk loving, because that'd be sweet. Tony and Steve shippers, I don't know. Tony admires his bum, so. But Steve and Bucky shippers, I don't think they'd be particularly pleased, because I think they was hoping that that relationship from the comics, that feeling from the comics, would transfer to the screen. But obviously Disney and Marvel are very reluctant to show the emotion that is in the canon, in the comics, on screen, which is so annoying. So what else did I have to say? I think that's it. So I thought Mark Ruffalo was brilliant, although I do sad that it's not as much Bruce Banner anymore if we carry on with Professor Hulk. So I'd like to go back to see Bruce Banner developing into Professor Hulk. So I think that would be cool. So I didn't really cry, but I did go oh at Hulk and Thor a lot. So I did take my little Hulk Thor plushie and my Tangle to hold while I watched. Regarding toilet breaks, there was a time when there was a lot of people in our screening going for a loo break, but I didn't need one. So the time goes quicker than you think, and the 3D is really cool. So that's where it's worth seeing it in 3D. So I think that's everything I have to say about the movie. So if there's any more questions you have about aspects of the movie, then leave them in the comments box. But I hope you have enjoyed this review video, and thank you for watching. Yay!